Donald Trump is up to his neck in legal troubles. Several members of his inner circle have been ordered to testify in the special counsel's probe into the January 6th insurrection, something the former president has been actively fighting. His lawyer, Evan Corcoran, testified for roughly 3.5 hours before the grand jury in the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation. Despite having receiving hundreds of threatening messages after the twice impeached former president's social media posts, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's investigation into the Stormy Daniels hush money case continues to move forward and could result in his first indictment. With the walls closing in on Trump, you'd think he lay low. Instead, listen.
Prosecutorial misconduct is their new tool, and they are willing to use it at levels never seen before in our country. We've had it, but we've never had it like this. We must stop them, and we must not allow them to go through another election where they have yet another tool in their toolkit.
Joining me now, Jeh Johnson, former Secretary of Homeland Security and former federal prosecutor. Secretary Johnson, thank you very much for coming back to the Sunday show. Good morning. So the grand jury reconvenes on Monday. Many expect an indictment of the former president already, but it seemed to stall last week. How do you read that?
The wheels of justice tend to grind slow. We had this expectation created last week simply because of the former president's own statement. Jonathan, on my way in for this interview this morning, I drove past 100 Center Street because I wanted to see it for myself. I used to work down there when I was a federal prosecutor. Lots of camera trucks, lots of barricades, lots of police, even on an early Sunday morning. And what occurred to me is one of my favorite legal expressions: let justice be done though the heavens may fall. And I'm quite sure what's roaming around in Alvin Bragg's head right now is, if this were an unsuccessful candidate for, say, a city council office seat in this city, he'd be under investigation for the grand jury and possibly indicted. And equality before the law must mean something. And the same rules must apply to a former president. I have a lot of confidence in the NYPD to anticipate this situation if and when there is an arraignment and an appearance by the former president. The NYPD knows how to do this. They know how to deal with high-profile defendants at 100 Center Street, as do the court officers. They deal with the UN General Assembly every year in Manhattan on the east side. So I'm sure the NYPD will have this situation well in hand. New Yorkers should not be concerned in that regard. But the wheels of justice do tend to grind slow.
So what is DA Bragg's office likely doing right now in the lead up to that grand jury vote?
Well, in grand jury practice, grand jurors hear testimony. That concludes, and if the state system works the same way the federal system works, the prosecutors will give instructions on the law to the grand jurors to explain the indictment, and the grand jurors then vote on the indictment. The standard is probable cause for an indictment, not beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the standard for a trial after indictment. So it's a relatively low standard. And even after that indictment is handed down, the defendant may be given a few days to surrender at 100 Center Street. So it may occur next week. I would suspect it's likely next week, but the wheels of justice do tend to grind slow.
Must that vote on an indictment be unanimous?
My recollection is yes. I'm not sure about state practice, but my recollection is yes.
Okay. We're as always happens when we're together, we're running out of time. But you were a former federal prosecutor, as you've mentioned, I've mentioned. Clear up some scuttlebutt I'm hearing. Is it possible that someone like Special Counsel Jack Smith asked the Manhattan DA to hold off on charging Trump so he, meaning Jack Smith, could charge Trump with something bigger?
I suppose it is possible. There would be nothing that would prohibit such a request. But I suspect that between prosecutors, I'd be very hesitant to make such a phone call and make such a request.
The special counsel used to be in the Public Integrity Unit, so you've been in the Public Integrity Unit. Given the witness and their proximity to Trump on January 6th, can we assume that Donald Trump is the ultimate target for Jack Smith?
Yes, I think we can assume that.
And since I've got you here, and I think we've got like a minute left.
Sure.
You were a former Homeland Security Secretary. National Security was your bailiwick. TikTok.
Yes.
There were the hearings last week where there are lots of concerns, national security concerns about TikTok and Chinese ownership. What's your view on this?
So, Jonathan, I don't have an informed view about the extent to which the Chinese government may have infiltrated TikTok or the extent to which the Chinese government has access to the privacy data of Americans. I don't have access to the intel anymore, so I know what I don't know. I do see this. There is a political stampede on both sides of the aisle for everyone to look like they're tough on China. And you have just one or two members of Congress standing up saying, hey, wait a minute, slow down. Jamal Bowman, for example.
Congressman from New York.
In that kind of environment where you have that overwhelming political stampede, if I were the policymaker, the president, a senior member of Congress, I'd say, hey, wait, slow down. Let's do a serious, sober assessment of the extent to which the Chinese government has infiltrated this platform, free of the politics, and then make judgments based on that.